Dear members, today is International Women's Day. Some years, this is a day for celebrating gains and achievements. Some years, it's for celebrating the courage of women under fire, the bravery of women who are facing terrible tyranny. Some years, it's for grieving the loss of rights and the loss of lives to discrimination and gender apartheid. Some years, it's for calling for action for what we know needs to change. This year, it's for all of those things and one more. It's for reflecting on our own agency in the face of a crisis of rights, of justice, of women's status and dignity that is undeniably the gravest such crisis in the world today. It's for asking the question, in the face of such terrible pain and suffering, something so much bigger than myself, something so far away from me, what can I do? What is my role? Maybe you, listening, are like I was back in 1996 when I first heard of the Taliban and their dystopian regime, someone who could hardly find Afghanistan on a map. Or maybe you are a well-informed outsider, familiar with the country and culture of Afghanistan, its history and politics. Or maybe you are an Afghan Canadian, or a something else Canadian. Whatever you are, whoever you are, and wherever you are, we all have very good reasons for worrying about what the Taliban are doing to women and girls and the kind of society they are seeking to build in Afghanistan. I believe there will be severe consequences for the international community that will ultimately show that their abandonment of Afghanistan was a grave mistake. We know Daesh is wreaking havoc in Afghanistan. We know the Taliban harbor other terrorist groups. We know they themselves continue to be a security threat. And they're just getting started. When they are through cutting up Afghanistan's school curriculum, they will be running an efficient machine to foster conflict, division, and extremism. 20,000 schools will be 20,000 indoctrination centers churning out angry, traumatized boys and men, too broken and hungry and desperate to resist the Taliban's imposition of their ideological worldview. See how that goes for global peace and security. I worry about things like that, and I think our political leaders should be too. But it's not my chief reason for caring. I have one key credential that tells me that the quagmire Afghans are now in is my quagmire too. That credential is my status as a human being. The main reason we need to engage in the crisis Afghan women and girls are facing, to react to it, is not because any of us are different from people living in Afghanistan under the Taliban right now, but because we are the same, because we are all, each, human beings. Regardless of who or where we are, what happens to women and girls in Afghanistan ought to matter to us. We ought to see our fate intertwined with theirs. The things that we would never wish on ourselves, we should not wish on them either. We should defend their rights as vigorously as we would want them to defend ours if the tables were turned. You don't need to be Afghan to stand with Afghans. You just need to be human and to recognize other humans like you in need. Human rights are for all. They work like that. They are universal or they are nothing. Identity, culture, religion are simply not relevant. The common denominator is humanity. The crisis in Afghanistan is not a women's problem, an Afghan problem, a Muslim problem. It's a human problem. So today, on International Women's Day, I am speaking out, and I will continue to do so for all my days on earth, on that basis, humanity. And we, as Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan, will continue calling on other humans, regardless of their nationality, gender, religion, or any other point of identity, to do the same. Because none of us alone can stop the injustices or the torrent of pain and suffering women and girls in Afghanistan are experiencing. But united, we can each be a drop in the stream, and the streams will eventually join and form a river, and the river will break down the dam. I wait for that day. And in the meantime, with you, our members and supporters, we will continue to work as hard as we can to play a meaningful role in ensuring that all the women and girls of Afghanistan will be able to dream of the brighter future they deserve as our fellow human beings. I wish you all the very best on this International Women's Day, and I thank you for your steadfast solidarity and your commitment to the idea that human rights are universal, that everyone has the right to learn, and that each of us has a role in making that happen.